Thank you. Thank you, Shirley. What are you most afraid of right now? What are the people think afraid of most today? I forgot. So I'm afraid. I'm afraid. Let me put it back. Is it the job that confronts you, or is it people around you, or the self-thoughts or doubts that surround you? I mostly believe people are today battling the most toughest is fear. I'm not the only alone in this belief. 100 years back, Franklin mentioned nothing is so much to be feared as fear itself. Even he was not alone in this belief. Even 100 years before him, the famous philosopher Francis Bacon mentioned nothing is terrible except fear itself. Fear can collapse us. Fear it can collapse us. It can do so many things. Like it keeps us away from having all the glories that God has in store. But fear is a stubborn enemy, but it can be overcome. In 1985, London Sunday Times polled 3,000 people asking the question, what is they are most afraid of? Any guesses?
Public speaking.
Public speaking, one.
Terror strike.
Terror strike. Death. Anything? There are so many. Dark, snakes, wild animals, forests. You can consider there are so many. At the same team, after 20 years, in 2005, they conducted worldwide the same polling asking for the people what are they most afraid of. And they were pretty amazed to see the results telling that there was no change in the slot 1 because public speaking is number 1 fear. 41% of the people voted that speaking in front of people is their most afraid of. And snakes was second, and dark was third, and death was in 7th in the list. I already mentioned. Today I am going to talk 2 things. One, trace your fear and how you can erase that fear. I already mentioned fear is stubborn enemy, but it can be overcome. If you go back, you can convert your fear into a sheer energy if you trace where it comes from, who is nourishing it, and who is making it to grow until it chokes you. Let me take my own example. Why to take somebody's example? Let me take my own example. When I started my high school, I became an ABCD, starting English for the first time. I was very good at speaking about in Kannada and other languages, especially I studied from 1st standard to the 7th standard. When I joined high school, speaking in front of people in English was my toughest fear. I didn't know the words, I don't know how to pronounce them. I still remember, I sat in a class as far as away from teacher as possible so that teacher or she or he would never get to me. Whenever the teacher asked for volunteer, I used to bury myself in a book and act like I'm studying something so that teacher would never ask me come in front of and talk. This continued from my high school to college, everything. I did trace my fear, telling that, hey, whatever I'm going to speak in English, I was not able to do. Even I still remember standing in front of classmates, paralyzing. It choked me. I'm not talking about I'm scared. I'm talking about white knuckle fear. I was not able to make a single point which is rationally good. Even if I told something, everything was jumbled up, like the sentence. Especially whenever you read like a novel, there will be some words, then dot dot dot, some words, dot dot. That was the way I used to speak in English when I was in college days. Then the second thing I'm going to talk is how to erase this fear. I found myself telling that I found out my speaking in front of public in English is my toughest fear. I want to erase it. You probably might know there are 4 steps to accomplish your fear or your comeback. Think it first 4 points. They call us 8 P words. Plan purposefully, prepare prayerfully, proceed positively, and pursue persistently. If you follow these terms, basically you can overcome your fear, whatever you trace, once you trace it back. I started, basically somebody told, read novels. Believe it, it took 6 months for me to complete first novel, and it went on like the new English words, and I had to refer to the Oxford dictionary, make the notes, then go for second chapter, third chapter. The story was good, but my English reading was so slow. Then I started reading Hindu paper because Hindu has a better English, and There is Tuesdays, there is an English section where they speak about new words, how to use the English grammar, and so many more. And I would like to mention, I used to read the newspaper as loud as possible so that I know what I am reading is pronounced properly. And I always told friends that I am going to speak only in English. If there is any wrong in usage of grammar, please point me there and correct me there itself, so that I can continue speaking English in front of everybody. That's the only reason why still I am erasing my fear. That's the reason only I joined Toastmasters, to erase, so that I can speak in front of everybody without any fear. Sorry. And as I mentioned, it doesn't matter what your fear is. My fear was speaking in public. There might be a dog, there can be a snake or something else. But don't ask this question, what if? There is a negative term. Don't worry about those negative. Keep it aside and go forward, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to achieve. To erase this fear, whenever you take a bold steps, there is one thing which always big obstacle that comes in your way, which is negative thinking. So to overcome this negative thinking, remember the word bold. B stands for bury your negative thinking. O stands for open your mind to your dreams. L stands for look for ways to come back. D stands for daily take a single step to where you want to go. If I can do it, whatever I said, if I can do it, I bet you can do it. There is whatever the mind can convince and believe, the mind can achieve. That's what my statement which she told. That's what I believe in. Even if you go to my website, I have that word putting what mind can convince and believe, it can overcome. I wish you all the best. Thank you.